Welcome once again back to the lab. It is your old Professor Pilk, and if you haven't heard, we have a raid incoming tomorrow, and that is, of course, Iron Bundle. Makes a lot of sense. Delibird is kind of your Christmas Pokemon. He's the Paradox form, or whatever is the Paradox form. So, it makes the most sense, right? And in fact, we had raids last year. We didn't have this raid last year, but it is worth noting because, I mean, obviously last year we were like, brand new in raids. We just were only discovering raids last year. So, let's talk about this. Now, I don't think Iron Bundle is going to be a really tough nut to crack. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think we've already pretty much got this in the bag. The main things you want to pay attention to here, Iron Bundle is a special attacker with some really good physical defense and really low special defense. I'm going to start off with the special skills down here because you can already guarantee that Electric Train's going to happen. He's got Quark Drive ability. Electric Train's going to power him up, and I can almost assure you the Snowscape's going to be a thing. Snowscape will double, since he's going to be an Ice Terra, Snowscape's going to double that defense, or maybe 50%. It's going to add to that defense. It's going to be a major defensive buff, okay? So, those two I can assure you are going to be a thing. The other three I don't know about. Agility could 100% be an option. He's already got an insanely high speed stat at 136, but everything that I'm seeing here tells me there's a high likelihood that agility might still be on the board. The reason I say that is because there is a major opening here, as you'll see when we get over here to the main portion of this, and really the only defense is going to be a speed stat boost. Unless I missed it, I don't believe there's anything in the build that will increase physical attack or will increase defense or anything like that. There's really no major buffs that this Pokemon has. So, short of that, you kind of have agility potentially to just outspeed you no matter what. You have Protect that essentially could just stop a move in its tracks. I don't think Protect's going to be a thing. I put that at the bottom of the list. I think it's a very low likelihood. We have seen this, however, before. Rest. We saw that with Mewtwo. And I wouldn't be shocked with this raid to see that come back, only because, in essence, what's going to happen is you're going to be wiping this Pokemon out absolutely with a quickness. Now, I kind of get the feeling that, personally, they don't really... This is kind of a gimme scenario. I don't foresee Rest being a thing, but it is possible, and I just wanted to mention it because we have seen it in raids before. But Electric Train and Snowscape, 100% are going to be there. Agility, I'd give that like a solid 60% chance of being there. But none of these things are really overly insurmountable. And the reason I say that is because if we go over here to the typings, now we know that this is going to be a type Ice Terra. That means that really, offensively, you've got three options. Fighting, Fire, and Steel. The thing that we've got to think here, do we have moves that are going to negate some of those moves? And right out of the gate, I can tell you, Fire is a no-no. We already know this Pokemon, if it doesn't have Hydro Pump, it's going to have some kind of water attack. There's several different, you have Water Pulse, you've got chilling water, low likelihood of that. Hydro Pump most likely, but there's also a couple other water special attack moves that are on the table. Though Hydro Pump is like the big main one that's most likely to be used here. Though it does have lower accuracy. I put plus 50% power on there, but that was for an older raid. We can just kind of get rid of that. But the honest answer here is, guys, I'm pretty sure Hydro Pump's going to be in the build. It just makes sense. And that means your fire types are going to be a massive, massive disadvantage. Plus, remember, this is a water-ice type. So that means those water moves and those ice moves are going to have stab. I'll discuss why the ice moves having stab is a bad thing here. Well, right now, Blizzard and Ice Beam are both on the table. And that means that any dragon units you're thinking about bringing in, because, we can default to Koraidon and Miraidon in a lot of situations. And I really feel like that's not going to be the case here. Any dragon type is going to get taken apart because you're going to have an ice move that's boosted by Terra type, and that is boosted by Terra type and has stab. It's going to eviscerate any dragon types you bring in here. So, and the reason I mentioned that once again is because, like I said, a lot of times we just natively bring Koraidon and Miraidon to some of these things, and that's just not going to be an option here. So we already know that fire's off the table. We know that the dragons are off the table. The other thing to consider here is fighting. Now, we've built a lot of fighting Terramon. We've built a ton of fighting Raidmon. Sorry, I nicked the mic there. We built a ton of fighting Raidmon, and a lot of them are very effective. In fact, a lot of them can kind of overcome any kind of stab damage that they're receiving. This Pokemon has a fairy move. It has Play Rough at its disposal. Not the strongest thing in this particular situation. There are situations where Play Rough can be incredibly powerful. It's not going to have stab or anything like that. It's just going to be a nuisance move. I think fighting isn't going to be your main course of action here. So fire and fighting are both off the table. Now, I'll get to the one that I think that is on the table, and I'll get to the one that I think will be really, really, really good for this. But first, let's talk about the rest of the moves, okay? So I put on here Drill Peck, Acrobatics, and Air Cutter. I think Air Cutter is probably more likely than the others just because it is a special attack flying move. But Acrobatics does double its power, so it really becomes its natively 55%. I put 110 here because that's really what it's going to be, unless he has an item, looking back at how Mewtwo handled Rest with a Chesto Berry. Unless there's an item in play here, Acrobatics is a big, heavy-hitting move, but I really kind of feel like Air Cutter's more likely, just because his physical attack is pretty low. So, I just don't see that being a thing. I also put Body Slam and Takedown on here, normal type moves. I find those probably pretty unlikely just because they do, they don't really close up any gaps in there. Though, Body Slam could be there, Takedown could be there. There's like a 70-ish% chance that we could see that. I also put U-Turn on here, and I'm going to mention U-Turn before I get to the Dark type move. U-Turn, basically, Bug is going to close up Grass, Psychic, and Dark. Is it Dark? Why do I feel like Dark's wrong? I put Dark down, but why do I feel like that's wrong? Anyway, I know Grass, obviously, and Psychic. Let me double check that. Yeah, no, it is Dark. It is Dark. I just feel like that's a weird choice right there. Nevertheless, the Bug move isn't a major nuisance, but U-Turn could be on the table, and it's a physical move, so this probably not. I also put Thief on here as a possibility, a highly unlikely one, because Thief has a near 100% chance to steal whatever item you're holding. And honestly, I think that's too rough. I don't think we're going to see that in any type of raid situation, just because it's a bit too rugged. I give that like a less than 5% chance of being there. It's possible, highly unlikely. I see the water move, I see the ice move, definitely the fairy move, probably the flying move, and that's kind of where I really see this build being. Maybe there's a move that I forgot that I'm not considering, but honestly, that's kind of where I see it. Remember, there are no egg moves, there's no learning moves or anything like that. It's either TM or it's a move that they learn upon leveling up. So this is kind of what I saw in the build as a possibility. And bear in mind, half of these are physical moves, and the physical stat is much, much, much lower than the special attack stat. Now, as far as moves go, the only thing that they didn't seal up that is going to be super effective is Steel. And remember, we have a really high physical defense here, and whenever Snowscape is in play, which I kind of feel like it's going to be, that's going to add 50% to the defensive stat. So this defensive stat, for all intents and purposes, is going to be like in the upper 170, 180 range. So you really don't want to mess with physical moves. You really, really, really want to focus on special attacking moves. And that really only leaves two potential special attacking steel moves on the table. And that is, of course, Steel Beam and Make It Rain. Now, that brought me kind of back to the Dark move, because Dark is the one thing that could disrupt Make It Rain, but I kind of don't feel like they're going to do that. If you didn't know, Make It Rain is the signature move of Goldango, and I really don't feel like they're going to close that up. I kind of feel like that is just going to be a thing. Most likely, Make It Rain is going to be one of your DPSs, but you will also have the ability to use Steel Beam, and Steel Beam gives us a ton of different Pokemon that we can use. I'm sorry, not Steel Beam. I'm sorry, Flash Cannon. Steel Beam is a no-no, because Steel Beam obviously has recoil damage and all that stuff. But Flash Cannon, my apologies, is going to be a much, much, much better move. And Flash Cannon gives us a lot of opportunities. We now have Blastoise as an option. You can make a Steel Terra Blastoise. That would be phenomenal, because Blastoise really doesn't have a lot of deficiencies natively, and then with the Steel Terra, suddenly you've got that stab boost on a move that really doesn't have any business being there. That would kind of be a fun and interesting build. What are some of the other Mon I was considering here? There's a ton of Mon that actually have this move. You got, funny enough, I was actually looking at some of the Alolan Mon. I love looking at Alolan Mon. And Alolan Sandslash actually is on the table at this point. You've got the Alolan Dugtrio that's on the table. Who else do we have here? We actually have some of the new legendaries that were just added back in with the update. So, another good starter here, Empoleon. Empoleon's on the table. Magnezone's on the table. The starter from, the legendary from Sun and Moon, and I'm going to butcher his name, and I apologize. Solagio. Solgaleo. I always butcher his name. He's actually, interestingly, on the table. That is a psychic type. Now, the exception is if the bug type U-turn is here, that's going to kind of put a deficiency on that. But I don't think that's going to be there, so I find this to be an interesting build. We're going to build some of these Mon out. I'm going to come up tomorrow with a whole bunch of these builds to help you out with, coming up with strategies for this. But I really feel like for most players, Goldango is going to be the go-to. That Make It Rain move is just going to eviscerate your opponent. So if you're looking for a gimme run, Goldango. But if you're looking for some more interesting builds, I'll come back tomorrow with a whole ton of these starting tomorrow morning. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already. Like, comment, and share. And I'll be back with more Pokemon Scarlet and Violet coming up for you guys here real soon.